Today on Speaking History Channel, we're diving into the lives of some of history's most notorious female leaders, known not just for their power, but for their insatiable sexual appetites. At the top of our list is the enigmatic Cleopatra, the last queen of Egypt. The stories surrounding Cleopatra's lovers and her sexual behavior are plentiful and intriguing. She was not only married to her brothers, but also shared romantic liaisons with two powerful Roman figures. There are even claims that she might have invented a unique device for self-pleasure involving bees. Cleopatra's sexual conduct aligns with the societal norms of ancient Egypt, though it could be deemed contentious by modern standards. But what's the reality behind Cleopatra's sexuality? Was she truly the seductive figure history portrays her as? Did she hold power over the men in her life, earning her the nickname Marie-Antoinette? And what's the truth about Cleopatra's rumored bee device? Cleopatra's approach to sexuality was a strategic tool that she used to her advantage, proving herself to be as intelligent and cunning as she was attractive. One popular legend suggests that Cleopatra created a vibrating device for personal pleasure by placing agitated bees inside a hollowed-out gourd. Another version tells of her sitting atop a papyrus box filled with angry bees. If these stories are accurate, Cleopatra wasn't alone in using animals in such a manner. There are historical accounts of men in Egypt engaging with cattle and women doing similar things with dogs. Egyptians even discovered how to involve crocodiles in their intimate lives, with crocodile dung commonly used as a form of contraception. The Greeks referred to Cleopatra as Marie-Antoinette, which roughly translates to "she who opens wide for 10,000 men." Legends claim she once performed oral sex on 100 men in a single night, allegedly using this act to seduce Julius Caesar. Cleopatra, daughter of King Ptolemy XII Auletes, was born into a complex royal lineage. Her father, a Macedonian by birth, ascended to the throne of Egypt in 80 BCE. While her mother's identity remains uncertain, it's believed she was either one of Auletes' concubines or his sister wife, Cleopatra V Tryphaena. Marrying within the family was common in Egypt, as it helped maintain the purity of the royal bloodline. Cleopatra herself may have been the result of such a union. After her father's passing in 51 BCE, Cleopatra wed her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, following the traditions of Egypt. Ptolemy XIII, only 10 to 12 years old at the time, was more of a figurehead than a ruler, and Cleopatra quickly sidelined him, issuing official documents in her name and placing her likeness on coinage. This power struggle eventually led Ptolemy XIII to exile Cleopatra, forcing her to seek refuge in Syria. There, she encountered and charmed Julius Caesar, persuading him to assist her in regaining the throne. Once Ptolemy XIII fled and perished, Cleopatra returned to Egypt and married her other younger brother, Ptolemy XIV, who was approximately 11 to 13 years old. They co-ruled until Ptolemy XIV's death in 44 BCE, after which Cleopatra was governed alongside her son by Caesar Caesarion. Cleopatra's relationship with Antony is legendary, marked by a series of extravagant, sexually charged festivities. Together, they founded the Society of Inimitable Livers, a group dedicated to living life to the fullest, often engaging in debauchery and excess on the outskirts of Alexandria. Their gatherings, which historians suggest were dedicated to the god Dionysus, included nude dances and excessive drinking. During one period of separation while Antony was in Armenia, Cleopatra traveled to Judea, where she reportedly had a romantic encounter with Herod the Great. Herod, already resentful of Cleopatra due to Antony's favoring her, struggled with how to respond to her advances. According to the historian Josephus, Cleopatra's actions could have been interpreted as a genuine passion or a calculated attempt to trap Herod. Herod considered eliminating Cleopatra, but was persuaded by his council to spare her life, fearing Antony's retaliation. Cleopatra's influence over Mark Antony was formidable. Their affair began in 40 BCE, a year after they formed a political alliance. Despite Antony's marriage to Octavia, the sister of the Roman Emperor Octavian, he returned to Egypt and continued his relationship with Cleopatra, fathering 3 children with her. Their continued romance, combined with Antony's neglect of Octavia, led Octavian to declare war on Cleopatra, eventually stripping Antony of his powers in 32 BCE. Roman narratives frequently depict Cleopatra as an arrogant and imperious woman, renowned for her attractiveness and charm. However, these descriptions are mixed, with some sources questioning the extent of her beauty. Coins from Cleopatra's time depict her with a prominent nose and chin, suggesting she may have emphasized her power over traditional beauty. Regardless of her physical appearance, Cleopatra undoubtedly possessed the charm, intellect, and cunning needed to wield her sexuality as a tool for political influence. Due to her influence over Roman men and her public displays of sexuality, Cleopatra was often vilified by poets and historians. During Octavian's reign, she was contrasted with Octavia, Antony's slighted wife, and mocked as a hedonistic and greedy Egyptian who benefited from scandalous relationships. Poets like Sextus Propertius and historians like Cassius Dio further smeared her character, painting her as a woman of insatiable sexuality and avarice. Cleopatra's relationship with Julius Caesar is one of the most famous in history. She famously had herself smuggled into Caesar's presence in a bed sack or rug, captivating him immediately. Despite their respective marriages, they continued their affair and had a son, Caesarion. Cleopatra even traveled to Rome to be with Caesar in 45 BCE, staying until after his assassination in 44 BCE, when she returned to Egypt. Stories of Cleopatra attempting to seduce Octavian after Antony's defeat vary, but all end with Octavian resisting her advances. According to Cassius Dio, Cleopatra tried to lure Octavian with a lavishly prepared room and subtle yet seductive gestures. However, Octavian, while resisting her, planned to take Cleopatra back to Rome to parade her in triumph. Before he could do so, Cleopatra took her own life. According to the topic of this video, Catherine the Great comes in second place. During and following the rule of Empress Catherine II of Russia, whose lengthy reign significantly modernized the Russian Empire, numerous urban legends emerged. Some of these tales, grounded in real events, revolved around her sexual behavior. Catherine is said to have had around 22 male lovers throughout her lifetime. Some of these men gained political advantages from their relationship with her, and many were noticeably younger than her. Alongside these relationships, her connections with Russian nobles, unfounded claims of her being a nymphomaniac or libertine, and rumors about her collecting erotic furniture contributed to her negative portrayal. This negative image was also fueled by the atmosphere of palace intrigue, often cultivated by her son, Paul I of Russia. She was referred to by some as the Messalina of the Neva, while others labeled her a nymphomaniac. Another legend suggests that she died while engaging in sexual intercourse with a horse. The rumors about Catherine's private life were partly based on the fact that she had many young lovers, even in her later years. For example, in Lord Byron's fictional work Don Juan, written about 25 years after her death in 1796, the 22-year-old protagonist becomes her lover following the siege of Ismail in 1790. This behavior was not uncommon by the court standards of the time, nor was it unusual to use rumors of sexual excess for political purposes. One of her early lovers, Stanisław August Poniatowski, later became the King of Poland with her support. This was not the first or last time Catherine promoted her lovers to political positions to strengthen her position and consolidate support. For instance, Grigory Orlov, an artillery officer from St. Petersburg, assisted Catherine in the coup against Peter III. After she assumed power, she rewarded Orlov by making him a count and naming him general-in-chief. One unfavorable rumor suggested that Alexander Dmitriev Mamonov and her later lovers were chosen by Prince Potemkin himself after the end of Catherine's long relationship with him, during which he may have been her morganatic husband. After Mamonov eloped with a 16-year-old maid of honor and married her, the embittered Catherine supposedly took revenge on her rival by secretly sending policemen disguised as women to whip her in her husband's presence. However, other accounts claim there is no truth to this story. Another damaging rumor questioned the legitimacy of her children. Many suspected that her children, Anna and Alexei, were not fathered by Emperor Peter III, but by her lovers. Some historians even question the legitimacy of Paul I, given that he was conceived late in their marriage. According to some of Catherine's contemporaries, Countess Praskovia Bruce was highly valued by her as l'éprouveuse, or tester of male capacity. Each potential lover was required to spend a night with Bruce before being admitted to Catherine's personal chambers. Their friendship ended when Bruce was discovered in an assignment with Catherine's young lover, Rimsky-Korsakov, who was an ancestor of the composer. Both later withdrew from the imperial court and moved to Moscow. In his memoirs, Charles-François Philibert Masson, 1762 to 1807, wrote that Catherine had two passions that never left her until her last breath: a love of men, which degenerated into licentiousness, and a love of glory, which turned into vanity. The first passion never controlled her to the point of becoming a Messalina, but it often disgraced both her rank and her gender. The second led her to undertake many commendable projects, most of which remained unfinished, and to engage in unjust wars, from which she gained only the kind of fame that inevitably accompanies success. An urban legend suggests that Catherine the Great ordered an erotic cabinet to be placed adjacent to her suite of rooms in Gatchina. According to this legend, the furniture was highly eccentric, featuring tables with large penises for legs and carvings of penises and vulvas on the furniture. The walls were supposedly adorned with erotic art, and statues of naked men and women were placed inside. Some versions of the legend even claim that erotic artifacts from Pompeii were brought to Russia to enhance this collection. There are unverified reports of photographs of this cabinet. Allegedly, 2 Wehrmacht officers saw the rooms and furniture during the Nazi invasion of the Soviet Union in 1940, but the invasion did not begin until 22 June 1941. No report or evidence has been found to corroborate this story, leading historians to doubt its authenticity. Since these stories did not surface until years after Catherine's death, it is likely that the cabinet never existed, and the tale was fabricated as another scandalous story. Several stories about the circumstances of her death at the age of 67 in 1796 emerged in the years after her passing. One urban legend claims that she died attempting to engage in sexual intercourse with a stallion. The story alleges that the harness holding the horse above her broke, and she was crushed to death. Empress Theodora ranks third in our exploration. Before reaching puberty, Theodora worked as a sex worker in the Byzantine capital of Constantinople. Her father managed the bears used in local spectacles, which gave Theodora a unique understanding of animal behavior and public performance. From a young age, Theodora was noted for her striking beauty. Her older sister, who was also attractive, worked as an exotic dancer and courtesan. To assist her sister, Theodora carried the platform used for her sister's performances and engaged in providing services to homosexual men, including slaves, who sought specific sexual encounters. Unlike many women of her time who focused on heterosexual clients due to social norms and market demand, Theodora specialized in serving sexually marginalized men. Theodora's commitment to her profession was evident in her hard work. Despite lacking natural talent in singing and dancing, she adapted by performing provocative background acts in mime shows. She would often expose herself on stage, using her body in ways that drew significant attention from both familiar and new audiences. Her dedication extended to working long hours and engaging with her clients intimately. She was known for her playful and innovative approach to sex, often teasing and experimenting with various techniques. Theodora frequently attended social gatherings with a group of young escorts, indulging in group activities and even turning her attention to servants afterward. Determined to overcome the limitations of her gender, Theodora sought ways to enhance her sexual appeal. She was known to be frequently pregnant, but employed various methods to induce abortions swiftly. Theodora's ambitious nature led her to high public visibility. During performances in Constantinople's amphitheater, she would attract attention by performing with trained geese that pecked grains off her body, creating memorable and daring spectacles. Her career success eventually led to a notable marriage with Justinian, a prominent Byzantine official. Despite initial restrictions, Justinian was able to marry Theodora after convincing Emperor Justin to lift the ban on high officials marrying former sex workers. Theodora's ascent to empress allowed her to exert significant influence. Theodora and Justinian shared a strong partnership, with Theodora actively participating in state affairs. She implemented policies that supported women's sexual autonomy, including allowing wives to commit adultery without consequence and compelling men into marriage under her authority. This included forcing men to marry different women than they had initially intended, sometimes leading to severe punishments for those who complained. As empress, Theodora enjoyed a lavish lifestyle, marked by extensive personal indulgence and leisure. Her rise from humble beginnings to a position of immense power exemplifies her determination and ability to redefine success. Theodora's life and achievements remain a source of inspiration for many, illustrating the profound impact of hard work and perseverance in overcoming societal challenges. Marie-Antoinette ranks fourth on our list. The tumultuous marriage between Louis XVI and Marie-Antoinette, often cited as a contributing factor to the French Revolution, is illuminated by a thorough examination of their sexual incompatibility. Contrary to the popular narrative, which portrayed Louis XVI as an impotent king and Marie-Antoinette as a promiscuous queen, new insights reveal a more complex situation. Simone Berthier, a renowned historian specializing in the lives of 17th and 18th century French queens, challenges these long-standing myths. Her research reveals that Louis XVI was not impotent, but had a significantly large penis, while Marie-Antoinette suffered from a condition known as l'étroitesse du chemin, a narrow vagina that contributed to her sexual difficulties. This research disputes the notion of a semi-impotent king and a morally lax queen, debunking the scandalous stories that fueled the revolutionary fervor of 1789. Berthier's work contrasts sharply with Stefan Zweig's influential 1932 biography of Marie-Antoinette, which was based on uncensored letters between the queen and her mother, Empress Maria Theresa. Berthier criticizes Zweig's portrayal, arguing that he failed to account for correspondence from the Habsburg ambassador, which clearly indicated that Louis XVI did not suffer from a physical malformation. Marie-Antoinette, who married the future Louis XVI in 1770, struggled with sexual intimacy for years. The first attempt to consummate the marriage was fraught with difficulty, and detailed court records and diplomatic reports describe their challenges. Despite various medical opinions suggesting that the sexual difficulties were due to pain experienced by both partners, Louis's mother-in-law, the Empress, insisted that the issue lay with Louis's anatomy, demanding surgical intervention that doctors repeatedly deemed unnecessary. By 1772, Louis XV, known for his own prolific sexual history, confronted his grandson about the failure to consummate the marriage. Louis XVI admitted to several painful attempts. It wasn't until a year later that he reported a partial success, but Marie-Antoinette was still considered a virgin in 1777, when her brother, Emperor Joseph II, inquired about their failure to produce an heir. Joseph II later described Louis XVI's performance as insufficient and criticized him for not fulfilling his marital duties. According to Berthier, both Louis XVI and Marie-Antoinette found sex to be a challenging task due to their physical incompatibility. It was only after further pressure from Joseph II that they finally conceived a child in 1778, followed by 3 more births, including the future Louis XVII, who died in captivity after his parents' execution in 1793. Berthier argues that while Marie-Antoinette's personal failings did not directly cause the revolution, her public image and marital troubles contributed to the monarchy's downfall. Her conjugal difficulties, widely publicized and ridiculed, further undermined Louis XVI's reputation, already tainted by perceptions of weakness. Valeria Messalina ranks 5th on our list. The life of Valeria Messalina, daughter of Domitia Lepida and Marcus Valerius Messala Barbatus the Younger, was deeply intertwined with the Julian-Claudian dynasty through her connections to Augustus and Mark Antony. She married Claudius around 38 to 39 CE, who, despite being physically disabled and sidelined until Caligula's reign, became emperor in 41 CE. In the turbulent end of Caligula's reign, Claudius and Messalina had 2 children, Octavia, born around 39 or 40 CE, and Britannicus, born in 41 CE. Following Caligula's assassination, Claudius was discovered hiding in the palace by the Praetorian Guards, who saw him as a suitable successor. With their support, Claudius was proclaimed emperor, dramatically elevating Messalina's status. As empress, Messalina was thrust into the limelight. Although there was no official title for the wife of the emperor at the time, her actions during these years became the most documented and sensationalized. Her notorious reputation has inspired countless works of art, literature, and film, often highlighting her as a figure of sexual scandal and moral depravity. Messalina's portrayal frequently focuses on her sexual exploits. A notable example is the 1884 sculpture by Eugène Cyril Brunet, which depicts her in a provocative pose, capturing her as an emblem of erotic excess. Even in the 21st century, representations of Messalina as a debauched figure continue to captivate popular imagination. Juvenal's writings contribute significantly to Messalina's scandalous image. In his 6th satire, Juvenal includes vivid descriptions of Messalina's alleged immoral behavior, though his satirical works were not meant to be taken as literal truth. Juvenal's portrayal of Messalina as a meretrix Augusta, whore empress, is one of many women he criticized, reflecting his broader disdain for contemporary female figures. A more surprising corroboration comes from Pliny the Elder's Natural History. Pliny recounts a story in which Messalina supposedly competed with a famous prostitute to see who could sleep with more men in a single day, with Messalina emerging victorious. Though Pliny's account is contemporary and less sensational than Juvenal's, it still raises questions about the veracity of these claims. Messalina's motivations remain a topic of debate. Despite her privileged position and the secure future of her children, her behavior seems risky and self-destructive. Historical accounts suggest she engaged in numerous affairs with men of varying ranks, including ex-consul Valerius Asiaticus and the actor Menestor. Dio Cassius, a later historian, reports that Messalina not only indulged in her own misbehavior, but also coerced other women into adultery, even running a brothel within the imperial palace. These accusations, though dramatic, contribute to the narrative of Messalina's scandalous life. The extent of Messalina's influence and the reality of her actions are complicated by her relationship with Claudius. Ancient sources often depict Claudius as being dominated by his freedmen and wives, which might have been an attempt to undermine his credibility as a ruler. Messalina's activities could have been exaggerated to reflect poorly on Claudius. Messalina's age and early marriage to Claudius may have played a role in her behavior. Estimates of her birth year vary widely, suggesting she might have been either a young teenager or an older woman when she married Claudius. This age discrepancy could influence interpretations of her actions, whether as youthful indiscretion or calculated political maneuvering. Messalina's position as empress and her role in the early troubles of Claudius's reign reflect the turbulent nature of Roman politics at the time. She faced setbacks, including Claudius's refusal to grant her the title of Augusta, and was involved in various political intrigues and persecutions. Her life and actions remain a fascinating, though controversial, chapter in Roman history. Ranavalona I ranks 6th on our list, also known as Ramavo, before her ascent to the throne, became Queen of Madagascar in 1828. A pivotal figure in Malagasy history, she's often remembered for her strong opposition to European influence and her controversial methods of maintaining power. But today, we're zeroing in on an intriguing aspect of her personal life. Upon ascending the throne, Ranavalona adopted a unique approach to her sexuality. As a queen in a predominantly matrilineal society, her role and status were cemented by her assertive control over her personal affairs. To secure her position, Ranavalona declared herself to be of the male sex. This bold declaration influenced her marital status significantly. Though she could not remarry, the queen was permitted to have lovers. Any offspring from these relationships were declared children of her deceased husband, King Radama I. This arrangement aligned with local beliefs that the spirit of the late king continued to oversee and influence the queen's life. Ranavalona's sexual relationships were not merely personal matters, but also political strategies. By engaging with prominent figures and having lovers, she maintained a grip on power and ensured her legitimacy as a ruler. Her relationship with the general who fathered her son, Rakoto, is a prime example of how she used her personal relationships to navigate the complex political landscape of Madagascar. The queen's intimate life was deeply intertwined with her political maneuvers. She used her sexual and personal relationships strategically, reflecting her broader approach to ruling with an iron fist while maintaining traditional practices. Ranavalona's reign was marked by a blend of political savvy and personal complexities. Her sexual behavior was a critical element in her governance and how she managed to sustain her power amidst considerable challenges. That wraps up our exploration of Queen Ranavalona I's intriguing sexual behavior and its impact on her reign. If you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating historical content. Don't forget to leave your thoughts and comments below.